Hello, I'm Elwood. There is the light on the dark night, the light of truth. So I found this article that was in alternet.org, and it was written by Rania Kalik, who I have seen recently on the Jimmy Dore Show. So I wanted to go into a little more research of one of the things she was talking about, which is the genocide that has happened in Iraq. When ISIS came to butcher the Yazidis of Iraq, they simply went next door. And what this article goes into, and it's very lengthy, it's very detailed. I highly suggest reading the link below because it goes into very specifics about certain tribes and how this happened. I'll give you sort of the overall theme of it and why it's relevant. So, first of all, our invasion of Iraq in 2003 helped make this happen. So when we talk about, oh, we gotta get Assad out of there and regime change, all regime change really is just an excuse for us to go get natural resources and for American corporations to profit and people in third world countries to suffer the consequences. And one of the things that they suffered as a result of our greed was on August 3rd, 2014, the Islamic State, also known as ISIS, orchestrated a pre-planned and systematic campaign of genocide against the Yazidis in northwest Iraq, driving hundreds of thousands of them from their ancestral homeland in Sinjar. Yazidis are Kurdish-speaking people who practice a pre-Islamic religion that ISIS ideologues equate with devil worship. All across Sinjar, wherever Yazidis were captured, the Sunni extremists forcibly converted or killed the men and enslaved the women and children. What's horrifying about this is the thing that is horrifying about any genocide. It was neighbors. The story goes in here, and the people were like, oh, that was my high school teacher. That was my neighbor of 25 years. And how does this happen? And boy, this could never happen in America. Here's how it happens. The way genocides happened in Rwanda, the way they happened in Bosnia, the way they happened in the Holocaust. You use crazy ideology, you demonize a group, you make them seem subhuman. Their religions or their cultures are they're animals, they're devil worshippers, they're just like Jews were drawn with horns and stuff like that. And in Rwanda, the genocide, they referred to the other groups as cockroaches. In Bosnia, they had to ethnically cleanse, which was horrifying. And much of this, of course, is America is somewhere involved. So America has something to do with this, either our lack of involvement or we got involved and screwed it up or whatever. So it's... And it's relevant because as this nation is so brutally divided, if we think it couldn't happen here, we are sorely mistaken. Let us not forget about the Japanese internment camps that FDR did. FDR did a lot of really good things. He also did the Japanese internment camps. That was racist, and it was a mistake, and it was largely used as a land grab in the West Coast. Get a bunch of Americans of Japanese descent, round them up, boom, we snatch up their property and their businesses. It's a pretty easy thing to do. So I want to go into some, this article is very, very detailed. She's a pretty good, thorough journalist, and if you watch the interview with her on Jimmy Dore Show, her research and her background on this particular subject is pretty in-depth. So, I'll read this. ISIS were local people, said another female Yazidi survivor, especially in the first couple days. Many of them were from Baj and Tal Afar. Some of us were students in high school and will recognize them as our teachers, she said, identifying one of the ISIS guards holding her hostage in Tal Afar as her high school biology teacher. Look at the insanity of the diehard Trump supporters and even some of the diehard Hillary supporters. That's crazy, Graham. You can't say that. This is just politics in America. Okay, well, look at all these people. Look at these militia groups. Look at these diehard gun owners. I was out to dinner a couple weeks ago with my niece. She's going to college in Southern California. She's 18 years old. She's studying public policy. And we're talking politics. And we're not being loud, but we're just having a conversation. We're talking about, I'm like, gun, it's ridiculous, the gun. I've spoken very, very openly about guns on this show. Some of you, I'm sure, are gun owners and maybe don't agree with me. I don't care. The more guns that are manufactured and sold legally is a direct result as how many illegal guns we have on the streets. So if we take all the guns away, only criminals will have them. No, there'll be less guns on the streets, and we'll get them out of the criminals' hands too. That's how that works. So this woman interrupted us, came over rudely and just said, well, I heard your opinion. I don't like what she said, and just rudely interrupted us. And she's like, I've given guns to my children and I've trained them. And I was like, well, you know, your kids are 3 times more likely to kill themselves. If you own a gun, you're more likely to die by your own gun. And she's like, well, there's terrorists. And I said, you're more likely to die by a white person with a gun in America than a terrorist. I look at these militia people. I look at these alt-right and look, there's a lot of hate and division in America. And I look at these just gun owners. You don't own a gun unless you want to use it. And if things deteriorated in this country, like an economic collapse, like a bunch of natural disasters, like the 7 hurricanes we just had, a bunch of wildfires in California. What if there's a major earthquake? What if they all sort of happen around the same time? The Pentagon, about 15 years ago, proposed that they did a like, where are we vulnerable? And they're like, if we had a big terrorist attack on the East Coast, a big hurricane in the Gulf Coast, and a big earthquake on the West Coast, all around the same time, it could really destabilize this country. We've been lucky that 9/11, Katrina, and the Northridge quakes, the last quake we had in California was 1994. But if that happens and things get destabilized or whatever, just the economy collapses, you got a bunch of people with guns many of whom are right-wing extremists. I mean, honestly, if some of these Hillary supporters if they could, they'd go out and kill people. They're nuts. They're crazy. The Trumpers and the dieharders are nuts. They want to just kill. So you're already seeing the seeds of it being planted in this country. And, look at the militarization of cops in this country and how they treat our own citizens. Let's not forget Occupy Wall Street, the very systematic response by the police nationwide, that was under Obama's watch. How the water protecting protesters, people who just were protesting the Dakota Access Pipeline, people who just wanted clean water for the children, just like the citizens of Bismarck, North Dakota that voted down the pipeline coming near them, just like that. What were they treated with? Water cannons, tear gas, rubber bullets. That happened under Obama. So the reaction of the corporate state in the United States empire is pretty severe already to its citizenry. There's already little mini police states in various parts of America. They're not nationwide, they're not on all the major cities, but they're little police states throughout America already. And there's, they employed Tiger Swan at Standing Rock. So if you think this couldn't happen, you're out of your minds. So other Yazidi survivors described how Sunnis from their neighborhoods joined ISIS in hunting them as they fled to Sinjar Mountain on August 3rd, helping ISIS fighters identify who was Yazidi and who wasn't. And she talks about in August, she visited a training camp of the Popular Mobilization Force, which is basically the army for the Yazidi. And they asked her, are you Muslim or are you Christian? She said she's Druze, which is a minority sect that lived mostly in Lebanon, Syria, and Israel-Palestine. And when they said, okay, you're not Muslim, they were okay with her. If she would have said she was Muslim, they would have gone after her. And she said they turned into monsters. At a gathering at the Iraqi Prime Minister's office organized for Yazidis in collaboration with Western mediation NGO, Jafar al-Husseini, the head of the Iraq's National Reconciliation Committee, introduced the conference by stating that the suffering of the Yazidis was greater than anybody else's. He even compared it to the Jewish Holocaust. He also spoke of the historic persecution and the Ottoman Mufti who issued the fatwa against Yazidis. The United Nations describes ISIS crimes against Yazidis as an ongoing genocide. The Yazidi community has been shattered. Over 6,400 Yazidis were kidnapped by ISIS, over 3,000 have rescued or escaped, but hundreds remain unaccounted for as ISIS loses its major strongholds. Of the 500,000 Yazidis who were living in Iraq, 360,000 were displaced by the ISIS attack, and at least 90,000 left the country. Thousands more, mostly men and adolescent boys, were systematically killed, but the number varies depending on who you ask. It is believed that some, especially those who were young children when captured, are being held by ISIS supporters in refugee camps and likely don't even remember their Yazidi identity. It's nuts, man, and this whole article is very extensive. I mean, this is a journalist I would recommend to start following, and the Yazidis now want vengeance and all this stuff. This is just awful, you know, and it's something to be looked at for several reasons. One, this has been started. I mean, this is started in 1975. This like anti-Yazidi sentiment by Saddam Hussein. But of course, we go in there in 2003 in our illegal war, and that was backed, you know, that was George Bush's war that was supported by Hillary Clinton, and she backed it pretty openly as a senator when it was happening. It needed to happen. Saddam was bad. So this is what we do in America. We go out there and blow things up and ruin people's lives and then just let chaos ensue after we leave. So it's something to pay attention to because it does not get, the mainstream media is not talking about this at all. You got to go to alternet.org to find this. And it's people like Rania Khalek that I'm learning about and following, and these are the kind of journalists I want to watch and listen to and support. And these are the kind of people that are out there doing real work, you know? And it's impressive and important what she's doing, because she could be on, like her or Abby Martin, you know, they could be on CNN making a bunch of money just spewing corporate bullshit, and instead they're doing stories like this. So thank you for watching the show. Thank you for supporting it. Go to patreon.com/Graham Elwood and support the show.